Hello guys, welcome to my new video, and today we'll talk about a very important aspect towards the 2026 elections, okay, concerning independent voters, because it's a very remarkable aspect that many people disconsider, and how they went in 2024 might change at the point they will go in 2026, okay? This is the number of independent voters by state in 2026, okay? As you can see here, this is not in terms of percentage, but I can tell you, for example, New Hampshire is one of the largest percentage-wise of independents. That's why they're a little bit moderates. That's why Trump barely won the primary there against Haley. But it's a very important aspect, okay? Because when you're seeing those people are just and they're uncertain between voting Democrat or voting Republican, and the Republican candidate might help them vote for him if he's a moderate. But that didn't happen in the last 3 elections for president, okay? Trump is not a moderate, you can say wherever you want, but he's not a moderate. And those people voted Democrat. That's why New Hampshire has been, at least in the last years, a slightly more Democratic state than Republican. But for example, in terms of the gubernatorial races there, Chris Sununu was elected, Kelly Ayotte as well. For the Senate, we're probably going to have John Sununu running for election there, so probably he might win. And that's bad news for the Democrats, but that's not the topic of this video. I'm just saying that the candidate matters in New Hampshire in order for the Republican or the Democratic candidate to win outright there. Another state that's very important, not by the significance of a percentage, but just as a significant of how competitive it is, it's Pennsylvania, okay? 969,000 people are registered as independents. Most of them are youth people below 30 years old. And that's really the point. Those people voted slightly for Trump in 2024. The point is, can they go now for Democratic people in 2026? Then you move as well to North Carolina, another swing state, 2.7 million independents. This is a slightly red state if you compare it to many others, but it's still important. Then you go to Arizona, 1.4 million, and you go as well to I'm sorry, you go here to Iowa, because Iowa will be, at least I suspect, a very competitive race into the Senate, because the Republican senator is retiring. I know she was not a very strong incumbent anyways, but it's also bad at all terms, even though Republicans are happy she's not running for re-election, which is funny. And Kansas, 557,000. I'm just mentioning Kansas because you'll have a very competitive gubernatorial race there. Laura Kelly is not able to run for re-election, and that's why we'll have a beautiful election there, very competitive between the Democrats and the Republicans. And the Republicans think they will win, but we'll see about that, because Laura Kelly was a strong incumbent. She potentially can make a huge campaign for the Democratic candidate, and we'll see if she's able to turn the election to the Democrats, okay? And I already talked about Arizona, Nevada, 637,000, and this is significant because it's a huge percentage, and that's it. I just want to say something. This is a very important news that CBC News got this week. More Americans than ever are identifying as political independents, okay? 45%, Al Gallup poll, they're independents, suggesting Republicans and Democrats struggling to hold voter loyalty. Why are they saying this? Because people right now, they don't be associated with just one party, okay? Because look, parties have its problems, and the Republicans now, with a lot of problems in the presidency that Biden had when he was president, they don't want to be associated with any president. I don't know what you can see here, but they're polling of more than 15,000 adults, okay? And as you can see here, this is actually significant. It's not a poll of 1,000 people, it's 15,000. So that's actually a better sample, okay? And more political influence for furthest extremes. And they're saying that they don't want to be associated with many of the so-called extremists from both parties, okay? Younger generation of Americans, millennials and Generation X, are continuing to identify as independents at relatively high rates as they have gotten older, okay? And they're less willing to adopt a label. That's what I said before, as I said at first. And the reason is because so we have 27% for Democrats and Republicans, and we have 45% independents. So as you can see, young people are the ones that vote the less. They tend to abstain the vote. They tend not to vote. But it's very evenly split between the Democrats and Republicans, and then you need to fight over the independents, okay? voted independent split evenly between the two candidates. You can see here at 48% each. Then it depends state by state. Of course, California independents are much more democratic, but Pennsylvania, I think it's split relatively to Trump. But as you can see here in the exit polls, which is very funny to watch, you go here to the party ID, independents. Look, Kamala won slightly, the independents 49 to 46. And then the Republicans, of course, the Democrats went for Trump and Kamala respectively. But you can see the percentage of the electorate. Look at this. Democrats lost the election because of a turnout problem, as you can see here, because Republicans and Democrats are slightly even. I think the Democrats even have a slightly edge, which is going to show that they didn't turn out the people they wanted, okay? And independents, as you see here, towards Harris slightly a bit. And the moderates, of course, towards Harris. Then you want to check something. You want to check the Pennsylvania, for example, because it was a swing state, and you want to check that. Party ID, look at this, towards Trump. Slightly less independents, as you can see here, but it went towards Trump. This is the reason why Kamala lost. That's why the reason the Democrats need to pay attention to this. I don't mean in the whole country, because they probably will win. They will win again. But I mean, in states like Michigan, in states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, especially Wisconsin, you have a lot of people, including Democrats, that didn't vote because of the Israel-Hamas conflict. Okay, let's check Michigan just for an example. Michigan here, and you have independents towards Harris, as you can see here. But look at the Democrats. How is a state like Michigan having less Democrats turning out than Republicans? That's just not possible, okay? Michigan is a very strong Democratic state. So if the Democrats are going to win Michigan, if the Democrats are going to win Wisconsin for the governor, because Wisconsin has a competitive gubernatorial race, and the Democratic candidate is retiring, which is very important news for the Republicans. It gives a little bit of a sense of hope, if you will, for them. Look, independents, again, Republicans better than Democrats, percentage-wise of the electorate. Again, bad news for the Democrats here. Problem of Harris' campaign, I would say, and independents slightly towards Harris, but it's just a difference of 1 point, and this difference of 3 percentage points matters more. And that's the point. If they're going to win Arizona, if they're going to win Nevada, I would say Arizona, just for an example, I think it went for Trump independents. There's no way. Exactly this, my 9 points. That is significant. Of course, there's more Republicans in Arizona than Democrats. So the Democrats really need to focus on independents. There's no way they could win the state without focusing on independents, and they lost them by 9 points. If they're going to win re-election with the governor, if they're going to win senatorial race again, they need to pay attention to those independents, okay? They're very crucial to them. And if you go to Georgia, I can check Georgia just for an example, because this one is very important for the Democrats as well. You have, look at this. This is not possible. And the Democrats did a great turnout because Georgia is slightly more Republican. But look at this. 30% are independents, and they went for Trump by 11 points. There's no way you can do actually something with that. You don't have New Hampshire, which is very sad. Maybe we have a state like Nevada. We have Nevada because it has a lot of independents. And as you can see here, it has 37%, and they were even. This is not what the Democrats want. Why? Because if you go to Nevada, you have two basically important counties. I don't say the rest doesn't matter if it is close, because it does matter. Without the rest, Trump wouldn't be the winner in Nevada. But I mean, in terms of being important for the Democrats and for the state as a whole, is Clark County, Las Vegas, and Washoe County, which is Reno. Okay, those concentrate more than 80% of the population. I think it's 85%. Las Vegas here, it went for Kamala with 3. That's no way. That's not a great election at all for her. He needs to win at least 11 points. I would say 10 to 11. They would feel comfortable. And this is a part of the suburbs, because Las Vegas here is very Democratic at the center, but if you go all the way, it has a lot of Republicans and moderates that voted for Trump instead of voting Kamala or voting Democratic, if you will. This is Reno. I mean, the margin was great because Lombardo in 2022, he won Washoe County, he won Reno. But the downside here is very, very Democratic, and you go all the way. It's slightly more Republican, but it's also less. It has less people. I don't know if in the Nevada Senate you have. So he won. As you can see here, that's 7 points. So that's what I mean. It's in terms of the sub. So Kamala won by 3, he won by 7. That's a 4 points difference. He won the state, she lost the state. That's the difference it makes. Okay, and in Reno the same thing. because those two counties, even though they're slightly Democratic, it's all about the suburbs. It's all about independence. And Trump is losing the subs. Trump is losing the Hispanic voters. And will he lose the independents? Of course he will. A portion of them. Will it be significant? That's of course the question. I'll let you decide for this year's election. Don't forget, guys, I would say something. Now we have 2 videos per week and live streams when we have important elections. As you can see, on January the 31st, we'll see a very important election for the House. I mean, not so important because the Democrats are going to win. It's Democrats running in the runoff in Texas, in the 18th district. Maybe I can show here to you, but it's important in terms of filling another vacancy. The 18th is slightly over here. I don't know where it is, to be honest. It's here. Look at this. It's very Democratic. We expect Democrats to run it up, but the turnout will be key. See that the Democrats get enthusiasm in their voters, and we'll have the early vote starts today, and it will last until the January the 27th. Okay, and we'll have a video on January the 28th about the early vote and what would I expect for this election. Thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your like, and I will see you on Sunday. Thank you.